Hello everyone and welcome. It is I, MovieManCHAD, here with a Blu-ray update for October 12th, 2017. Before I start, I do want to say happy 13th birthday to my nephew, Michael. I hope it's a great day. You're no longer a kid and a child anymore. You are now a man. So act like one, buddy. Okay, so once I was a kid and a child, and sometimes I kind of still am, especially when it comes to movies. But in the 80s, I was a child and I was a kid, and in the 90s, I was a teenager and a little bit of a young adult. And so this Blu-ray update will contain films from the 80s and 90s, movies that I have purchased on Blu-ray over the course of the last couple of years. So here we go. First off, we start off with one of my favorite movies of the 80s and one of my favorite movies of all time. Best Picture winner, Terms of Endearment. Finally got this, found this at a good price at Fry's. Absolutely love this film. Don't have a bad thing to say about this movie. I even liked the sequel that felt really unnecessary, but James L. Brooks' masterpiece. If you haven't seen it yet, Terms of Endearment. I think the film does come with commentary, which I believe is also on the DVD, but I love this film. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, and I cry at the ending every time, and I love the music. Next one, we go to when I was a kid and actually saw this in the theater with my parents. It is The Adventures of Milo and Otis, the G-rated film about a relationship, but not a relationship, a friendship, I should say, ha 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 ha, with a cat and a dog as they go on an adventure. And I got this for pretty cheap. It does say $7.99 there, but I think I got this for $5 at a used place of some kind. And I saw this movie as a kid, and hopefully I can show it to my kids one day, or my nephews and my niece. But I really like this film. I think it came out in the late 80s, maybe 1988 or 89. But a really great family-friendly film that I highly recommend if you have not seen. The Adventures of Milo and Otis. Lovely. All right, Christmas 1988 brought us Scrooged. This is a fun little film that is not perfect in any way, but is enjoyable, especially if you're a Bill Murray fan. And I saw this movie as a kid. I can't believe my parents let me see this movie. 1988. I was like 11 years old, and it's PG-13, and there's some questionable content in the film, but overall I still have fond memories of watching this, and I like what happens at the end of the film when it kind of becomes a vlog from Bill Murray's character himself to us. So enjoy Scrooge from 1988. 1987, here we go, Raising Arizona, one of the best, probably the first Coen Brothers movie that I ever saw, and I absolutely loved it ever since. It is one of my favorite Nick Cage movies, and Holly Hunter. Wonderful soundtrack by Carty Burnwell, and I would love to see more movies like this, and I know that there have been more movies kind of like this from the Coen brothers, but I don't want a sequel, of course, to Raising Arizona, but I just love the comedy from this film so very, 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 very much. Next one is from 1987 as well, I think. Yes, The Untouchables. The first thing I ever saw from this movie back in 1990 when I finally saw the movie was the ending to the movie, and it scared. It was so intense. And then a little while later, I actually saw the final film, and it's one of my favorite gangster movies of all time. Kevin Costner, great film from Brian De Palma, and an Oscar winner, of course, from Sean Connery. So if you have not seen The Untouchables, you are truly missing out. Definitely one of the best films of the 1980s. And I think from 1989, Dead Poet Society, I believe this movie was nominated for Best Picture. I love Peter Weir. He is one of my favorite filmmakers, and this is a great performance from Robin Williams. But sadly, I probably have not seen this movie in probably more than 20 years. So I bought it not only because I thought it was a great film when I saw it years ago, but the fact that I haven't seen it in a while. I need to revisit this film, and I look forward to revisiting it very, very soon. There are lots of special features. But if you love Robin Williams and Peter Weir and want to see Robin Williams in a different role other than the comedy he's known for, I recommend Dead Poet Society. Great film from the 1989 that always gets me at the end. I always cry at the end of the movie. One of the funniest movies I've ever seen, and also really great when it comes to dramatics. And that would be Parenthood, which I believe was turned into a TV show twice. One not so successful, but then the second one was quite successful. But I haven't seen the new series that is now on Netflix, but I love Parenthood. And someone who's not a parent myself yet, I felt like it was still very relatable, you know, because there's great kid characters in the film. Kids, you know, not only the parents dealing with certain things, but kids are dealing with certain things and small children as well. Great film from Ron Howard, who is now directing the next Star Wars spin-off movie, which I'm very excited about. But I'm glad to have this movie in my collection. I love Parenthood. It is one of the best. One of the smooth sports films of the 80s. What year did this movie come out? 1989, near the end. It's Major League. I actually met David S. Ward. He was, I think, the dean over at Chapman University when I used to hang out with the Chapman University kids and helping them with our movies. And I actually got to meet this director and tell him how much I enjoyed his screenplay to The Sting. And, of course, really enjoyed Major League. Though I've never seen the sequels, and I probably never plan to. But I did like this first film, and I think it's a good sports comedy. And something I'm looking forward to revisiting very, very soon. All right, one of the first cool action movies from Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think he made it actually after Terminator 2, but it was one of the first I actually saw. And that would be Commando. It's just cheese fest, but it's awesome. It's 80s. It's action. It's Arnold. It's muscles. It's violent. It's got everything you want in an 80s action Arnold film, Arnold Schwarzenegger film. And so there's only one special feature on here. It is the theatrical trailer. Man, I would love if there was a commentary by superfans, maybe celebrity superfans, or maybe a celebrity entertainer on the internet. But there you go, Commando. What more can you say? It's just everything I already said. All right, one of the films that actually scared me as a child, and that would be Creepshow. I think this was from the early 1980s. And this is a series of vignettes, or what do they call, little short films that are compiled into one film. Of course, very famous, and there is a sequel, which I did like as well. But the original is the best, and I like these anthology. That's the word I'm looking for, anthology films. The first one I actually saw from this was the one starring Stephen King as he's getting the plant stuck to his face, and he's growing and all that stuff. And of course, the one with Leslie Nielsen and Ted Danson. And then years later, I would always see the version on television, which was edited. But years later, I saw this version, and there was actually, they took an entire story out of that. I don't know why, but I guess maybe it was just it's a 2-hour movie, so maybe the length was just so long that they took out an entire story. But at least with this version, the original version, you get to see the entire film. I like Creepshow, and there's that elements that since I saw it as a kid, they still scare me today. And I like the little short film that I never got to see it as an adult. That's part of this film, or you know, the other short story that's part of this film. I actually enjoy it too, though it doesn't really scare me because I didn't see it as a kid. Next one is one of my favorite movies from the 1980s, and that would be The Burbs. I've seen this movie countless times. Some of my friends love to refer me as their crazy neighbor that was checking out the trash. He was like, because my beard was red. And I actually met that actor at a signing at the Long Beach Comic-Con, and he was very nice. Courtney Gaines, I think his name is, Courtney Gaines, and he was very nice to me, and he took a picture with me, him and his lovely wife, back in 2010. But Joe Dante directed this film, and I love The Burbs. It is one of the best, fun, silly comedies of the 1980s that got no respect when it came out. And if you want to go and have a good time on the tour, hopefully, the Universal tour, hopefully they'll take you where The Burbs was shot, because the entire movie was shot on the Universal lot. One of the best movies of the 1980s, and one of the most innovative films ever made, is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. This is the 25th anniversary edition, though I think the movie is now a lot older, but it comes with this nice slipcover. I love a good slipcover, and I love this film. I saw this movie when I was a kid, and I've enjoyed it ever since. It's great. You know, it never gets old. It's one of the best and greatest films ever made. This movie, of course, collection set comes with the Blu-ray and the DVD if you want both, and tons of special features, which I'm assuming are on the DVD, which I already own. One of the best and greatest films of all time, and Robert Zemeckis' wonderful career that continues on today. One of the most shocking films, of course, I didn't see as a kid, but saw it more as an adult, is Fatal Attraction. Very amazing, crazy, intense film. One of the best films of that time, dealing with the subject matter. And I really enjoyed it, and I've seen it countless times since. And it's a good, scary. It's actually a movie that's quite scary. And that's hard to come by sometimes. I don't know if I would classify this as a horror film, but it is horrific, but it is more of a psychological thriller and something that I am glad to have in my collection once again, not only on DVD but now on Blu-ray. Here's a film that I didn't see until later. I don't know why I didn't see it as a kid, but later when they brought out the DVD and Blu-ray, they brought out a extended version of the movie. So this is not the PG version of The Outsiders. It is the PG-13 version of The Outsiders, the complete novel, which I think is like a half an hour longer. This movie doesn't resonate with me as much as a lot of other 80s movies because I saw it later in life. But I do like it in the impressive cast from C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Diane Lane, Ralph Macchio, Rob Lowe, Patrick Swayze, Emilio Estevez, Tom Cruise, and Leif Garrett. I mean, just an amazing cast. Of course, this movie is directed by Francis Ford Coppola, and I'm glad to have it in my collection, and I would like to revisit again one day. Next one is Once Upon a Time in America. I haven't seen this movie in a while. This is the extended cut. I think it has 2 cuts. And I think the movie is, I think the longest cut is almost 4 hours or so. I can't really remember. I haven't seen this movie in a while, so I got it at a pretty cheap price at Walmart. And I've been interested to watch it again. I don't think it's one of the best of Sergio Leone. Of course, The Man with No Name trilogy is probably the greatest thing that he's ever done. But I really enjoyed seeing this movie, I think about 10, 15 years ago. And I'm really looking forward to watching it again. Don't have much else to say. But it does have an impressive cast with James Wood, one of the best actors, and Robert De Niro. So there you go. Next one, a great sports film. Oh my gosh, I've got so much to talk about. I'm not even done with the 80s yet. Okay, so The Natural. What can you say about The Natural? Wonderful score, Randy Newman's wonderful score, directed by Barry Levinson, Robert Redford. Just one of the greatest sports movies ever made, and I've seen it countless times, and I look forward to watching this again. I think this might be an alternative cut of the film, an extended cut. I can't really remember, which I don't know if I've seen before. But I love The Natural. It's just one of the best. It's one of the greatest baseball movies ever made, and reminds me not only why I love film, but also why I still love baseball in some weird way. Next one is another anthology movie from Stephen King. We had Creepshow, and now we have Cat's Eye. Now this one, Creepshow was rated R, this one's rated PG-13. This might be more friendly to a younger audience. And I remember seeing this on the theaters. There's, I think 3 or 4 stories, I can't really remember. And, Drew Barrymore's in the movie, and Robert Hayes, and James Wood, and another great film with James Wood in it. But I remember really enjoying this movie. I think I saw it later in life. And I like anthology movies. I wish there was more movies like that would actually get released in the theaters. A lot of those movies that tend to get released at home or on demand or on Netflix. But I'd like to see that. I even heard that someone might be rebooting Amazing Stories. So I hope that's true, because I love anthology kind of movies and stories. Short stories done by exceptional filmmakers. So anyways, Cat's Eye. Good little film, and I really enjoy it, and I think all 3 or 4 stories are pretty impressive. Next one from the 1980s, one of the best from Rob Reiner, and Stand By Me, another Stephen King. Here's another Stephen King. Any more Stephen King? I might, I don't know. Stand By Me, what can you say about Stand By Me? It's got so much going for it. Great coming-of-age story, and great reason to love all these actors right here. All these actors, just tremendous. And, it's, again, a movie I haven't seen for a while, so I'm really looking forward to watching it. This is celebrating the 25th anniversary with some special features. I imagine the movie is much older now, but I really remember enjoying this movie, and I think I saw it at my friend's house the first time I saw it. So thank you to my friend for introducing me to Stand By Me. Next one is an Oscar-nominated film, and that would be Moonstruck. Moonstruck is just another great script. Great characters, Nicolas Cage at his very best, and I have seen this movie recently, and I'm glad to have it on Blu-ray finally, and enjoy it again, and show it to the people in my life who have not seen it yet. So, great film, Norman Jewison. I just love him as a filmmaker. He's made some wonderful films that include Jesus Christ Superstar, and Fiddler on the Roof, and Moonstruck. So, here we go. You haven't seen Moonstruck yet, you're missing out. One of the best things Cher's ever done in her career, next to Mask. Okay, next one is This Is Spinal Tap. This is Spinal Tap, another Rob Reiner film. One of the best mockumentary films ever made about one of the greatest bands that never existed, but then did exist. Just great. Harry Shearer, Michael McKean, Gosh, I can't remember his name, and that makes me so mad. Christopher Guest. I am sorry that I forgot Christopher Guest's name for a moment, but I've been saying a lot. I've seen this movie countless times. It's hilarious. It never gets old, and reminds us why rock is awesome, metal is king, and comedy is gold. So if you have not seen This Is Spinal Tap, you need to go check it out. It's one of the best, and it's so funny, and the movie's almost, I think, more than 30 years old, or more than that, and it's still awesome and funny. So please, if you have not checked Spinal Tap out, and even the music. I mean, the music of Spinal Tap, the movie, is incredible too. I mean, it's a fake rock band that is more real than some of the rock music that's playing actually today. Okay, next one is Body Heat. I haven't seen this movie in a while. Film noir film, one of the first films directed by Lawrence Kasdan. Of course, went on to write for Star Wars and make his own movies and win awards and just be famous on his own right. But this was a very interesting film that I did see about 15 years ago. I found this for pretty cheap at Best Buy, probably a year ago. I can't really remember. But I remember really enjoying the film, and I really enjoy Lawrence Kasdan, and I'm glad to add this film to my collection. It'd be interesting to revisit again. Early film with William Hurt and Kathleen Turner. So if you love the 80s, the film noir, or that kind of filmmaking, that not an easy movie to watch. That's all I'm going to say. It's not an easy movie to watch. It's not super friendly, but overall, just probably one of the best films of the 1980s for being something completely different that maybe a lot of people hadn't seen for a while since the early part of Hollywood. All right, and the last one in the 1980s, and I don't know, I think I'm just going to close with this one. I know, oh gosh, maybe I'll just go to the 90s really quick. I have Raging Bull from the early 1980s. Have not seen this film in a while. I got this, I don't remember the price I got it for, but I've been trying to get more films with Martin Scorsese in my collection. Just think he's one of the best filmmakers ever. I think he's great, wonderful, and I have not seen this film in a while, but I love a film that is made within the last few years of cinema, like the last 30 or so years, and is presented in black and white. It's a film I need to revisit again, and I'm glad to have it in the collection so I can watch it anytime I'm in the mood to finally get around to watching Raging Bull once again. Definitely one of the best films of the 1980s, and one of the best Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese. Actually, every time they got together, they made a great film. I look forward to, hopefully they're going to get together again very soon. Again, another great film to add to the collection. So that's the 1980s, and I've already talked for 17 minutes. Gosh, what to do? All right, really quick. I've got Space Invaders from 1990, I think, or 1989. I can't remember, whenever year this was like $2. It's not a great film by any means, and I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and I like to collect movies. So Space Invaders. There we go. Ed Wood, 1994. Tim Burton's best film ever, maybe Johnny Depp's best performance he's ever going to do in his career. Again, another film presented in black and white about one of the worst filmmakers in one of the in one of the best films about filmmaking. So I absolutely love Ed Wood. I'm so glad that I found this, and there's special features. There's a commentary by the director, and just I love this film. It was a great day when I saw this movie, because right after I saw Ed Wood in the theater, I saw The Shawshank Redemption in the theater. All right, Rob Roy. I have some weird feelings about this movie. I haven't seen it in a while. I know it came out on a time around when Braveheart came out, so it kind of got overshadowed. But I think I got this for like $5, and I'm willing to revisit it again. So I don't have much to say about Rob Roy. I need to watch it again and see how I feel about it. But 1995, I believe. 1999 brought us Oliver Stone's Any Given Sunday. I think we need a sequel to this, because the way the NFL has been going crazy today, because this one is about the NFL, of course, but it's a different name because I don't think the NFL let them use their property to make this film. But just a really great, exciting Oliver Stone movie that actually has a director's cut, and the director's cut is shorter, so they actually cut stuff instead of adding stuff. I don't know. I haven't watched this movie in a while, but I remember enjoying Any Given Sunday, and one of the early performances from Jamie Foxx. Stellar cast and everything, so I don't know much to say about it. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I'd like to, I think maybe we maybe need a new one about this. anyways, because I think there's a lot to say about what's going on in the sports world today. 1992 brought us A League of Their Own, another great sports movie. True story, or at least inspired by the true story of the women who played in the in baseball while the men were fighting in the war. I love this film. What can you say? Madonna gives a stellar performance. Tom Hanks, Nina Davis, Lori Petty. Penny Marshall's probably her best film that she's ever made in her career, along with Big. But just what can you say? The 25th anniversary. I can't believe it's been 25 years since I actually saw this movie in the theater. It's timeless. It's a timeless movie, and I think it's important as it was then, as it was when it was made, and today. I think it's a great movie, inspire younger generation to overcome any odds. There you go. League of Their Own. I love that film. Courage Under Fire. I saw this movie once in the theater. I got this pretty cheap. Thought I'd revisit it again. It didn't cost much to get it. See if I don't know if I like it or not. Edward Zwick. I like Edward Zwick, even though he hasn't made a lot of great. Not every one of his films is great. Not everyone can be glory, Edward Zwick. But I'm interested in seeing this again. Courage Under Fire. Let me know what you think about this film in the comment box below. I just been a while since I've seen it. I don't remember if I enjoyed it or I didn't. I have to watch it again. One of my favorite films of the 90s, 1999, and that would be one of the best comedies I think ever made, and that would be Bowfinger, especially starring Steve Martin, who actually wrote the film, and then he's co-acting with Eddie Murphy. Stellar performances from both actors, and Frank Oz, just a great director, Frank Oz. And I think this is one of the most underrated comedies of all time. And that's all I got to say about Bowfinger. It's one of the greatest, and I don't think people talk about it that much, especially when they're talking about these two fine actors. So I'm glad I got that. I think it officially just dropped on Blu-ray. And now that was one of the best movies, or one of the best comedies of the 90s. This is one of the guilty pleasure comedies for me of the 1990s, because I love Trey Parker and Matt Stone, and this is Basketball. Again, this one came out, I think, recently at Best Buy. It was like a Best Buy exclusive. I don't know if it's been on Blu-ray yet. Again, not a great comedy, but I love stupid comedies too. I love comedies that are not appreciated by the critics. And because comedy is subjective, like anything subjective, and I think this movie's stupid and silly and funny all at the same time, and showcases the great minds of Matt Stone and Trey Parker, and who went on, of course, to create probably one of the greatest cartoon television adult shows, South Park, ever made. So I like this film. Nothing great or anything, but I'm glad to have it, and I look forward. I've watched it a couple times. It makes me laugh. What the heck? Speaking of more Oliver Stone, we actually, I don't know if I talked about Oliver Stone maybe just once already with Any Given Sunday. Now I have one of his masterpieces. This is Natural Born Killers. This was the first R-rated movie I saw when I turned 17 officially. Didn't have to sneak into the theaters anymore. I could actually use my ID. I was so proud, and I got to see Natural Born Killers, and the movie has shocked and surprised and excited me ever since multiple times. This is the director's cut that is also associated with Warner Brothers. I remember one time there was a director's cut where I actually met Trent Reznor, who did the music, and I met Oliver Stone down in Hollywood as they were signing copies of a VHS copy of this that I have when Warner Brothers was not going to put out the director's cut. But now I guess they have in the last 10 years. And I love Natural Born Killers. It is one of the most exciting films ever made of the 1990s. And a great film about the media and how the media manipulates, and how the media is completely fake, and how they prop up people that are completely evil. And it's a great satire, and just a great film all around. I think we're, just like Any Given Sunday, I think Oliver Stone, we're up for maybe something that would revisit whatever is being revisited in this film. I would not a sequel, but maybe something kind of spirited sequel to Natural Born Killers. All right, another Tim Burton movie. This one I believe is from 1996, I think. I love this film. This, from the soundtrack to the cast to the special effects to the comedy to the pointlessness of some of these scenes in the movie. Just overall a great time. A tip of the hat to B movies of the 1950s, and one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, and one of my favorite Danny Elfman scores. Sadly, this Blu-ray I don't think has much to it, but I really look forward to watching Mars Attacks again. All right, I probably have like a few more movies to talk about in the 90s department, so let's just get it over with. Welcome to this long video, and thank you for staying. Speaking of, we were going over some comedies that weren't so great a few times with basketball. Let's go over another one that I think is kind of in the same park, but more for kids, I guess, and that would be Problem Child. Yeah, I really loved this movie as a kid, and I like to see it more as an adult. And I enjoyed the sequel. I never saw there was a third movie I heard, but it doesn't. I don't know. It just, again, stupid comedy. Enjoyable. John Ritter. God, I love John Ritter. And the writers of this film, Scott Alexander and Larry Krasinski, who went on to make. They wrote Ed Wood, The People versus Larry Flint, Man on the Moon. They just recently won Emmys for The People versus O.J. Simpson. Those guys are so creative that they have created one of the silliest movies ever made, and its sequel, which I don't think is on Blu-ray yet. But I really enjoy Problem Child. Glad to have it. I mean, the movie's less than an hour and 20 minutes. If you don't like it, it'll be over soon. But I really enjoyed Problem Child. I'm glad to have it in my collection. Another film from the 90s that I think is actually more clever than it's, probably most people say, is Waterboy from 1998. Adam Sandler, when he was actually really funny, and sometimes he still can be. I really think this is another stupid, silly comedy from the 90s, and I really like it. And I really enjoy it. And I'm glad that I have it. And it's one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies. Maybe it's not one of his best, but it's definitely one of my favorite, and it always gets a good laugh out of me. What else can you say about Waterboy? It's stupid, it's silly, it's pointless, but it'll make you laugh for about an hour and a half. Hey, that rhymes. All right, one of my favorite action movies, silly, stupid 1980s action movie that actually is in the 90s, and that would be Con Air. 1997? Just great action. What else can you say? I mean, look at this cast. Cage, another Nicolas Cage, John Malkovich, John Cusack. What can you say? I mean, this is a great 80s movie that was made in the 90s. That's all I need to say. Con Air. I love Con Air. What else do you say? Now let's take it down for something important and serious and 90s and action and one of the greatest action crime sagas ever made. I already own this on Blu-ray, but I got it again because it's a special edition, so I don't know what I'm going to do with my other Blu-ray, and that would be Heat. This is the 10th year or 20th anniversary edition, something like that, I think. But this one's got special features, new special features, probably some of the old stuff, and it's got a nice slipcover. I like the slipcover. It's pretty shiny. Yes, I love Heat. It's one of my favorite action movies of all time, and one of the best movies of the 1990s. I know probably on my top 10 or top 20 of 1995 when it actually came out. I'm glad I got this. I think Walmart has it pretty, if you want to own this film, it's like less than $10 on Walmart. Maybe you can get it cheaper online somewhere else. We got Postcards from the Edge. Of course, this is the story of Carrie Fisher and her mom, Debbie Reynolds, but of course it's changed a little bit, and I don't know if the names are changed. Of course, Carrie Fisher wrote the screenplay. Love Carrie Fisher. Miss Carrie Fisher. I'm looking forward to seeing The Last Jedi very, very soon. But this is a really good film that I have not seen in a while, and I'm looking forward to watching it again and enjoying it, and maybe we'll have some more comments on that after I watch it. But Postcards from the Edge. Is this a 1990 film? Yeah, barely. It's 1990, it says. Okay, I hope. Maybe it's the 80s and it just says the 90s. But I remember really enjoying it when I saw this, and I look forward to watching it again, hopefully very, very soon. All right, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to go at 2. Let's go see if there's any. All right, we got Arachnophobia from 1990. I saw this movie countless times in the theater. Couldn't get enough of it. Always loved to hear the reaction in the theater from the audience. This is a movie that I think truly scared me and entertained me and made me laugh, and the audience just ate it up. I can't remember the last time. Maybe when I saw Split. That was a good reaction watching that movie. I think the audience really enjoyed that. But anyways, Arachnophobia, well, just a fun 90s movie. Scary, funny, thrilling. Something that even teens can enjoy. It's PG-13. I have not seen it in a while. I don't know if it holds up, but it did. It was pretty amazing when I saw it in the early 1990s. I think this movie was 1990 or maybe 91 or 92. I love Arachnophobia, and I'm glad to have it in my collection. We have Matilda. Didn't see this in the theaters, but saw it a few years after that. I think when I was working at Blockbuster Video, I rented it. And just a fun Danny DeVito movie. fun Roald Dahl film. Really creative and exciting, and I know it's a famous musical. I hope maybe one day to see it, and maybe one day they'll take the musical and make it into a movie again. I just hope they give Mara Wilson, who is retired from acting, I'd like to see her as a cameo of some kind. That would be nice. All right, now we have Flatliners, I think from 1990 or 91. There's a remake out right now. I'm hearing it's getting terrible reviews. I don't plan on seeing it, but luckily there is the original. And do we really need a remake of Flatliners? I don't know. Maybe I'll eventually check out that remake, but I don't know. This is not like the greatest film from the 80s ever made, but it's still a lot of fun. It's still completely entertaining, and Joel Schumacher proves that Joel Schumacher was a great director. And I know he gets a lot of flack for some of the films that he's made, but he's made some really great films, especially starring a stellar cast: Kiefer Sutherland, Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon, and some others that are in this film. I think Oliver Plant is in the film, William Baldwin. I have not seen it in a while, but I'm looking forward to revisiting it, and I think it's something that should be appreciated and be seen, and probably instead of the remake that is actually in theaters right now. The Grifters, have not seen this probably since it got released. I don't know what year it was. You actually got some nominations at the box office, so I don't remember when I saw it or how I felt about it or anything, but I think I got this for like $5. Don't read that. I got this for about $5 used, and I'm interested in just revisiting a film that I have not seen for a while. And, stellar cast: Angelica Houston, John Cusack, who else was Annette Bening. So don't have much to say about this film right now, but maybe after I see it, maybe I'll have more to say if I liked it, or maybe I think it wasn't as good as I hoped. Maybe I didn't remember too well. All right, and finally we have actually two more films. I'm just gonna put them together because we gotta go. So this was from 1993. It's a remake to La Femme Nikita, Point of No Return. Bridget Fonda, one of my favorite actresses of that time. I think she's since retired. I thought this was a really pretty great action movie, female lead. But then I saw La Femme Nikita probably after that, and I'm like, okay, this movie's good. It was a good remake. Not as great as La Femme Nikita from Luc Besson, but I think this was a solid remake. And I remember finally watching it. It may not be great anymore or good, but maybe more nostalgia is kicking in when it comes to Point of No Return. So anyways, that's it for that. And then finally I have a Best Picture nominee to end off the 90s, and this is from 1994, I believe, or 93. Four Weddings and a Funeral, great comedy. This is another one of those movies where I have not seen this in many, many years. Don't read that. I got it for $5 or less used. I have not seen this one in a long time, but I remember enjoying it when I finally watched it and wondered, like, why did this movie get nominated for Best Picture? Then I saw it and I'm like, wow, I'm glad, comedy actually got nominated, even though it didn't have a chance. It either was up against Schindler's List in 93 or up against Forrest Gump in 94. I can't remember what year this movie came out. Let's see, 94. So it was up against Forrest Gump. It didn't have a chance, but to be nominated is pretty great, and I'm looking forward to revisiting it and see if it's still funny. I'm hoping it still is. I mean, look at the cast. It's great, and the people that are behind the film and who made it and all that stuff. So this is another one that I bought because I haven't seen it in a while, and I wanted to revisit it and see if it holds up at all. So there it is. That's it. I'm sorry this video was so long. I'm not going to talk anymore other than to say thank you so much for checking out this video. In the comment box below, let me know what you think of the movies that I collected today from the 1980s and 1990s. Thank you for your attendance. I appreciate it, and look forward to more videos coming from me very, very soon. Live film, everyone. Goodbye. Peace out.